Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone to discuss Week 18 in the NFL season is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you on this Friday night?
Man, I'm good. I just want to say, I want to give up some props to anybody who's worked a job that does any type of inventories, and you're one of the people that they trust to count, and you have to do variance reports and high-lows, because that shit ain't no fun.
No, it's not.
Kudos to any of you out there like me who get, picked to count stuff. Good job, but man, it sucks.
What doesn't suck is the Cleveland Browns are in the playoffs, man. And
here we go, Brownies.
They are going to be the 5 seed, and they are going to be playing whoever ends up winning the AFC South, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But they are going to be resting players. How many and exactly who is going to be sitting is still a little up in the air. Joe Flacco will not be playing, so we get to have our 5th quarterback start this year and throw another name on the jersey. Jimmy, I'm not one to generally bet games like this. I don't like betting when backups are in, a little too much variance for my tastes.
No,
are you somebody who likes to bet these types of games?
No, I'm going to just stay away from this because I don't want any bad juju for betting against the Browns in this game, but I disagree. I disagree with the Browns organization. Right now, the Cleveland Browns are the hottest team in the NFL. You're going to sit most of your players that have made you the hottest team in the NFL. You're going to lose the game, and you're very likely to play the Colts or the Texans, who would then be the hottest team with all the momentum. And I'm afraid you come out in that first quarter of that playoff game and you come out flat. You got nobody to blame but yourself. But no. There will be no betting for me on this Browns Week 18 game.
I guess if you had to bet on this game, I would take Cleveland with the points because I still think their defense is good. Although I don't know how many of those guys are going to play.
Right?
So, yeah, I don't know. That's why I don't like betting these games.
When the local radio hosts were asking questions today, like, well, how many players can you call up from the practice squad for the last game of the season? That tells you stay away. Like, throw your dollar somewhere else. Like, just stay away from this one. Just watch a better football game this week. Let the Browns go this week. Watch one of the other games, and then we'll tell you what to do with the Browns in the playoffs.
Exactly. And there's going to be other games like that this week where it's just, look, backups are playing, who the fuck knows?
Yeah. Yep.
What that really leads into is betting strategies. And you and I like to make preseason bets. We do a lot of future bettings because we're pretty good at it. And it's been a consistent moneymaker for us. Plus, it puts us in a position where we find ourselves in this weekend where there are 3 games that if they go the way I need them to go, I'm going to be looking really good going into the playoffs. And if they all lose, then I'll be, probably about broken even for the year. Are you in a similar situation, or do you look at it in a similar way, Jimmy? Do you like to hedge against some of your preseason bets?
Yeah, absolutely. We do it kind of both ways where, we're probably, if you have a lot riding on the Bills futures, throw some money at the Dolphins.
Oh, do tell.
Throw some money at the Dolphins, so if the Bills don't come through, you can still hit on that. But I think between the two of us, I think we have a very good chance of hitting the division winner in every division, one of us.
Well, I had Buffalo, so we'll see that. I had Cincinnati. That didn't go so well. Jacksonville's in it. Kansas City. Dallas is going to win the division, probably not Philly. San Fran. No, I was 4 for 4. You did better on the division winners than I did.
Yeah, Detroit. I'm going to miss Detroit. Possibly, we'll see what happens with Buffalo. My big bets for me were Tampa Bay. I felt like when I felt like they were going to get the over on the wins, I looked at the other teams. I said, well, then you might as well bet them to win the division as well.
Exactly.
So I've got a big bet there.
That's why I've got a lot on Atlanta.
Yep.
I do have that plus 1,000 on Tampa Bay to win the division, which could come through still as a nice hedge against some of the Atlanta stuff. So this just leads right into the biggest game of the weekend, which is Buffalo at Miami.
Yep.
The Buffalo Bills are 2.5-point road favorites. They are minus 155 on the money line. The Dolphins are plus 130. The over-under on this one sits at 48.5. Buffalo trying to win out, which would be pretty impressive. They'd also hit their over on their season win total. Miami trying to prove something against a team with a winning record. They've got guys out after Bradley Chubb's injury. They're pretty beat up.
Yeah.
What are you expecting to happen in this game, Jimmy? Who's going to come out on top here in the AFC East?
So our man Sully, who is a big time Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills fan, says a big reason why he likes the Bills is because they're fun. I don't think this game is going to be fun. I think the Bills are going to run the ball. They're not. This new offensive coordinator has seemed to kind of find a sweet spot between giving Josh Allen chances to be explosive, but also trying to minimize the mistakes. I mean, still the only category he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league is interception. But it's getting better. I think the Bills are going to run the ball. I think they're going to bully Miami. I think Miami's going to lose again to a team that can be more physical, and Miami's just still a couple players away. They've got to find a little bit. They have to find a second identity to go along with the explosive offense. They've got to find a way to be a little tougher still. I think there are a few pieces they need to add, but I believe the Bills are going to win this game. I think they're going to cover. I think they probably win by a touchdown, at least a field goal. I like the Bills here. It's an incredible run they're going to end the season on going into the playoffs.
It would make me really happy if they did that, because I have a lot of future bets that would hit if Buffalo wins this game. So I will be.
I'm going to take Miami here.
I've got to put some money on Miami just from.
Yeah,
I got about 38 units riding on this game with Buffalo. If they win this game, I'm cashing in some pretty big future bets. I thought they were going to walk away with the AFC East, and I thought they were going to easily clear their over. So this is more all about the hedge. What do I think is going to happen? I feel like Buffalo's going to finish out. They dominated the first game that these two played. It is still very frightening to have that much riding on Josh Allen, because he has been so up and down, and they really tried to give that game away against New England. You get 4 turnovers and you can barely beat one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, this is true.
So I'm rooting for Buffalo, but I will be throwing some money on Miami. To our people out there, whatever you got going on with Buffalo's future bets, let that dictate what you're going to do here.
Yep. My daughter did let me know she heard that the reports are, it looks like the stadium tickets for this game are 52% in favor of Bills Mafia. So it looks like Bills Mafia is traveling south.
Well, maybe I'll make it a smaller hedge bet.
They're gonna break some tables in South Beach, man.
Oh man, they're gonna scare the Dolphins fans. Up next, we'll talk about the game on Saturday that does mean something, and that is the Houston Texans traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. And somehow they all have a chance to win the division, which is just bonkers. Indianapolis has no business being anywhere near the playoffs, but here we are because it's been a weird year. The Texans,
they have some quality wins, too.
Yeah, I know. It's just pretty mind-boggling because when you watch that team play, you go, how do they beat anybody?
Yeah. I agree.
But here we are. The 9-7 Texans are 1-point favorites over the 9-7 Colts. Minus 120 for the Texans, plus 100 for the Colts. Over-under sits at 47.5. Jimmy, you've been all over Houston this year. You've been right about them from the beginning. Do they come through here? Does C.J. Stroud get another win and cinch up the Offensive Rookie of the Year award?
Yeah. I mean, I have. There have been a couple spots this year where I got a little too overzealous with the Texans, but for the most part, they have done what I thought they were going to do. It was a very nice over bet on their win total for me. I think they're going to win this game. In my opinion, whoever wins this game, that's the coach that should be coach of the year. And I believe C.J. Stroud's going to have a good performance, and he's going to lock up Rookie of the Year. And he's got a little bit of competition because there's some other players that have put up some good numbers, but I think
Puka Nacua has put up some bonkers numbers as a receiver.
But I think if CJ, especially with the stink that's on the quarterback position at Houston that he walked into,
Yeah.
you have a marquee win here and go to the playoffs. Maybe Jacksonville fumbles and you actually get the division. I think it's a great start to CJ's career, which I really felt like was going to happen this year. I mean, the schedule will be tougher next year, so you may have a little regression, but I think this team is good. I love DeMeco Ryans. I love the coaching trees from Shane Steichen has been incredible for Indy as well, though. I think it's going to be a great football game, but the Texans are getting healthy, and I'm gonna roll with the Texans one more week.
I'm gonna join you. I think Houston wins this game, and I think they become a very scary team in the playoffs. Like you want to talk about? Wait, hold on. So they would be 9-7. So wait, what is their scenario? If they win,
they'll either be the last wild card or the division winner.
Okay. So, yeah. So, I think I'm with you. I think they win this game. They go to the playoffs. They're a pretty scary team to play in the playoffs. And if Houston winds up the 7th seed, they would be playing the winner of Buffalo-Miami, which would be just a great game either way. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
You mentioned the other game that will decide the AFC South, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Jags are 4-point favorites, minus 205 on their money line, plus 170 for the Titans. Over-under sits at 41. This is a big one for me, man. The Jags have an over-under season win total of 10. If they win this, that becomes a push, so you at least get your bet back from earlier this season. And I also have them to win the division, so they can get both of those with a win. So another hedge situation, that plus 170 is not too bad. I'll likely be putting Tennessee and Miami in a 2-team parlay because, that's probably how this might go.
Yep.
Jacksonville's been playing some pretty bad football lately, Jimmy. How do you see this game playing out?
If Trevor Lawrence is as healthy as they're saying he is, I still trust him as a top 5 quarterback in the league. I still trust their coach. I still trust the roster that's healthy. And unless Derrick Henry has one of those Derrick Henry games, I don't see how Tennessee can win this game. So I'm all over Jacksonville here.
Yeah, if Trevor Lawrence is healthy, they have to win this game. It's just that simple. Otherwise, they've got some real issues that they need to address in the offseason.
Now, I will say, right, because we bring back our own receipts. Now, myself personally, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC Championship game. I don't
think that's going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But because of things you've been saying the last couple weeks, I've also went ahead and made the bet of Jaguars to miss the playoffs, Steelers to make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be excited either way with the outcome of this game.
Yeah. I hope Jacksonville wins this game because
that's who we want. That's who Browns fans should want.
I think. Well, I'm just speaking strictly from a gambling perspective. I need Jacksonville to win this game, but I do think Cleveland matches up better against Jacksonville than they do Houston because I think C.J. Stroud can carve up that defense because I think C.J. Stroud can carve up any defense.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I also have the Jags over and the Jags to win the division, so I would much prefer a Jags win than a Titans win here.
The NFC South is also in flux, and the first game that will decide that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. The beat-up Fighting Baker Mayfields are 4.5-point road favorites, minus 235 on their money line, plus 192 for the Carolina Panthers. Over-under sits at 36.5. Baker's beat up coming into this game, which, is like throwing the dice. How well is he going to play? And I think that'll come down to if Tampa Bay can run the football. Do you think Tampa Bay closes this out and finishes 9-8 and wins the division, Jimmy?
Absolutely, I do. No doubt in my mind. He'll play well enough. They will get this win. It will be an incredible win. And as much as I think the team that wins the AFC South has the coach of the year, Todd Bowles, probably should deserve some votes too. Like it doesn't seem like Kevin Stefanski is going to lose this Coach of the Year race, but I feel like there's some guys doing more with less who are breaking expectations.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a Caleb Williams team.
I think the Texans or the Bucs are going to run the ball. Hopefully they'll come out with a little bit more energy than they had last week. They'll run the ball, play a little bit better defense. Maybe guys will catch the ball when they get dropped 62-yard dimes. That would be nice. So, yeah, I'm all in on the Bucs here and excited for this Buccaneers division winner to hit.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this team moving forward, win or lose. I mean, they have about 33% of their cap is just dead money, which means they're just a third of the cap less than every team in the league.
Yep.
And they took it on the chin this year after making the runs with Brady, and they were supposed to be bad, like worst team in the league type bad. And here they are fighting for the division, maybe make the playoffs. They're going to be a scary team moving forward if they can get their shit together in the next couple of years and add some pieces, build up the offensive line, get a little bit of a running game going, and just fill in some of the holes on defense.
Yeah.
The other game that will decide the NFC South maybe is New Orleans hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints are 3-point favorites, minus 165 for their money line, plus 140 for the Falcons. Over-under sits at 42. Jimmy, I need Atlanta to win this for two of my bets to cash, so we'll probably be betting on New Orleans in this one. They look like the better team, even though I don't think anybody likes Derek Carr. Atlanta just looks like a mess. They look like they know there's big changes coming, so they're just sort of playing it out.
Yeah, I agree, but there's still opportunity there, so I think they'll play tough. I don't think New Orleans can play a game as good as they played last week. I think it just didn't seem like Tampa had energy, was really up for that game, but man, the Saints came out, wanted it, and took it. I don't think they can do that 2 weeks in a row, and I'm certainly not about to just expect Derek Carr to play big in a big game. Not going to do that. So give me the Falcons here all day.
The Falcons also play terribly on the road. There is that small nugget of information.
Although they're going to another dome, so
yeah, that does help. We'll see if old Dan, who's their head coach? Dan Quinn.
We're in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Oh, my man Arthur Smith.
Oh yeah.
Bud.
We'll see if Arthur Smith can survive this season.
Crackpot, crazy lunatic.
I read somewhere or heard somebody say something along the lines that Russell Wilson is going to wind up in Atlanta with Arthur Smith, and they're going to run the most depressing offense ever.
Oh, it's written in the stars, dude.
If I was Atlanta, I'd be going after Justin Fields with all those weapons they have down there. That's something.
Yep. That could be a 12 or 13 team win team next year.
Yeah, if it's run properly, but I don't know if they got that going on.
Yeah.
Another game that may feature a last, and there's a string of them here. The Washington Commanders are hosting the Dallas Cowboys, who hope to clinch the NFC East with a win. Dallas 13-point favorites. It's so many points for a team that's been pretty up and down on the road, but
yeah,
the Commanders are probably going to be firing Ron Rivera at the end of the season, so minus 800 for the Cowboys money line, plus 550 for the Commanders. Over-under sits at 47. A lot of people think Dallas is probably going to jump on them early and try to just knock them out. Do you think that's something Dallas can do? Do you trust them to cover the 13?
I think you have to trust it right now. I mean, Washington is in shambles, and I think Dallas is going to want to make a little statement. And if I remember correctly, Dallas does still have a shot at the 1 seed too. So they should be up and prepared for this game. They should win this by 2 touchdowns easy. The 13 doesn't scare me.
You convinced me. I don't understand why Washington, they knew they were going to fire Ron Rivera like a month ago. Like, why not fire him and elevate Bieniemy and see if he does something? Because the team just seems to know that this season's over and that there's nothing really going on, and they're just waiting for wholesale changes.
Yep.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm with you. Don't like it.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If Dallas were to slip up, Philly has an outside chance of winning the division. They are 5.5-point favorites in New York against the Giants. Minus 250 for their money line, plus 205 for the Giants. Over-under sits at 42. Just a few weeks ago, Tyrod Taylor tried to ruin my parlay with the Eagles, minus 6.5. The Eagles won that game by 8. But Philly's kind of in free fall, man. What the fuck is going to happen?
And Tyrod is doing some work, but I'm taking the Giants here.
I don't hate it. I also think there's a high probability that if Dallas gets up and it's, if they get up by more than 2 scores, I think Philly's going to probably just bench their guys. Try to get some rest.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, limp into the playoffs and let's start over.
Yeah.
The first game of the weekend sees the Pittsburgh Steelers, who clinched just another winning record for Mike Tomlin, who they're going to run out of town. The Steelers are 3-point favorites on the road in Baltimore, taking on the Ravens backups. Pittsburgh minus 178 on the money line. Baltimore plus 150. Over-under sits at 35. They're just going to win this game, aren't they, Jimmy? The fucking Steelers. They're just going to win it. They're going to beat up on Tyler Huntley, and they're going to win this football game, and they're going to go to the playoffs, and that's what's going to happen.
So I'm staying away from this game. I told you what I bet on. If the Steelers win this game, Jacksonville's going to lose. If the Steelers win this game, Jacksonville's going to lose. They're going to make the playoffs. But I also think it's an AFC North showdown between two coaches who both think they're better than each other. They're both petty. It wouldn't really surprise me that much if Baltimore played starters in the second half and knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs. Wouldn't surprise me. Like, nothing would surprise me about this game. So when there's something like that happening, I'm staying away. For the sake of our pod, I'm taking the Steelers, though.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's going to win 10 games. They might not make the playoffs. I mean, they could still fight. They could win this game and still miss the playoffs, and they'll still run Mike Tomlin out of town. And please do it, Rooney family. Mike Tomlin, he needs to go. He needs to go. He's not any good. He's terrible. No. You should get rid of him. You should.
No.
It's completely his fault that the quarterbacks on this team have been substandard for half a decade.
Yeah, and still wins games.
Yeah, it's just all he does, win games.
Yeah. Definitely, the standard is not the standard anymore. You should definitely get rid of him. Pretty please.
And that is probably the same thing that AFC East teams are talking about when it comes to Bill Belichick in New England. The Patriots are hosting the Jets. The Patriots are 2-point favorites, minus 130 on their money line, plus 110 for the Jets. Over-under is 30.5. This is one game that I will be probably betting because there is no way Bill Belichick is losing this game to the Jets. He despises that organization, and he's going to have his boys ready to play, and he's going to go out with a win in New England.
Yeah, 100%. Co-signed. Agreed. There's nothing else to say.
You think... He's not going to cede power as GM, so he's going to be gone, right? That's how this plays out.
I would think so. I mean, I think it's probably time.
Man, it'll be a lot of fun talking about where he might end up when we get to the off season and see who's staying, who's going, and what openings there are.
Yeah, well, I said you have to assume he wants to chase the wins.
Oh yeah, he's way too close to not go for that.
But I still stand by it. Wouldn't surprise me if he took a year off and then came back and ran the greatest defense the world's ever seen for some coach that everybody despises or something like.
Yeah, he's still a Sunday coach that's as good as any that's out there.
Yep. I mean, as bad as the Patriots' offense has looked this year, the defense has still been pretty darn good.
Yeah, and they're missing Judon, so they're missing a key cog there. And they don't have a ton of talent over there. He just makes it work. He just finds guys and coaches them up, and they're good. So he winds up somewhere with a good GM. Like that's a championship combination, in my opinion, still.
So I know it's not our normal avenue, so we won't dig into it deep. Just off the top of your head, are the Jets concerned at all about unhinged Aaron Rodgers giving interviews?
They should be.
But it doesn't feel like they are.
He has been emboldened to the point of he's the emperor with no clothes. He's just walking around and he thinks his shit don't stink and he thinks he can say whatever the fuck he wants and there's not going to be any repercussions. And it's probably because there aren't going to be any real repercussions.
Okay, fair enough.
Jimmy Kimmel can sue him for Jimmy Kimmel can sue him for defamation, but it's a high bar to clear because Jimmy Kimmel's a public figure in a legal sense of the word. So the hurdle that has to be cleared to prove that Aaron Rodgers defamed him is very, very high. And it's going to be difficult, but it's just Aaron Rodgers has become a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, just top to bottom. That seems to be who he is now.
He just happens to play quarterback.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of these things with him where when they're winning, nobody's going to really care, and when they're losing, it's all they're going to talk about.
That's fair.
And I'm already sick of it.
Yeah. Word.
And just as another side note, the fact that Pat McAfee pays him to be on the show and ESPN uses Pat McAfee all over the place now, just another one of those. ESPN is not a place of journalistic integrity, and they have not been for quite some time. This is who they've been for a really long time. And it's why some of us don't watch their shit anymore and haven't for a while.
Yep. Amen to that.
I'll get off my soapbox now. We'll talk about a game that I don't think either one of these teams want to fire their coach. Green Bay's hosting Chicago. The seasons might not have gone exactly as planned for either of these teams, but Green Bay still kind of has a shot at the playoffs. We'll see if the dominoes fall in the right path for that to happen. The Packers are 3-point home favorites, minus 160 on their money line, plus 135 for the Bears. Over-under sits at 45. Justin Fields putting on a pretty good audition, man. Do you think he can play well enough to keep Green Bay out of the playoffs?
No, I still think Green Bay is just a little bit better team. I'm going to take the Packers here. I think it should be a really good football game. If the Bears won, it wouldn't surprise me. But LaFleur is just doing another pretty good job with a not super talented roster. And you just finding ways. Aaron Jones looked absolutely great last week. Jordan Love threw some beautiful passes. I think the Packers win this one.
Wow. All right, well, I'll agree with you with the Packers because I've been wrong about the Bears all year. They're just them and the Packers both. I've had no idea what's going on with either one of those teams. When I think they're going to be good, they're terrible. When I think they're going to be terrible, they're good. And I'm mad on both of them now because I'm just tired of being wrong.
Yeah, I'm super this is just a spot I don't know many organizations have been in where I think either decision you make is okay because Justin Fields looks like if you actually let him play a little bit more football that he's comfortable with, he can be really good in the NFL or at least good enough.
Yeah, with his ability to run, if you have pieces around him that can spread defenses out, he can be Lamar Light. And
the players and the fans seem to support him, so I can understand keeping him. But there's a few quarterbacks coming out in this draft that I also think are the real deal, so I can also understand letting him go and starting over. So I'm just very curious to see which wrong decision they'll make this time.
I think they've already decided to move on from him. It's just a question of where's Justin Fields going to go.
Yeah.
And if you get Arthur Smith out of Atlanta and they decide to go with another younger, more innovative head coach, is a more innovative, offensive-minded head coach, Justin Fields looks like a great fit down there. They got so many weapons.
Yeah.
Just with Kyle Pitts and Drake London and their ability to get open and stress defenses with Bijan Robinson and Algiers in the backfield with his running ability, that just screams points.
Yep.
Especially they play in a dome. There's teams in their division that have domes, good weather. Yep. That sounds like a dangerous team and the start of something.
No, I agree.
It seems crazy to me that somebody that has played as well as Justin Fields is like, we're just sort of like, yeah, we're done with him now. Let's go to the next guy. And it's like, I don't
Right.
know. Caleb Williams didn't blow the world up this college season, so I don't know. Up next, we have Russell Wilson's last game as a Denver Bronco, Jimmy. He'll be in street clothes just like everybody else. The Las Vegas Raiders host the Broncos. Raiders 3-point favorites here, minus 165 on their money line, plus 140 for the Broncos. Over/under sits at 37. I think Sean Payton's gonna win another game with Stidham as his quarterback, just as an FU to Russell Wilson. What do you think, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'll go with it. I got
just
I got
just
no
out of
feel
spite.
either way for these two teams, so I like that. That sounds good. I like it. That will. Yeah, I like that. And just be staring at him the whole game. Just staring at him like, look, Russ, look,
Every time they score, he
Look.
just stares holes through him.
look what happens when you run my offense.
Oh, man. The Detroit Lions are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions are 3-point favorites, minus 190 on their money line, plus 158 for the Vikings. Over/under sits at 46. Detroit still has an outside shot at the 2 seed if Dallas loses and they win. That game was kind of a debacle last week. The refs seem to have gotten confused about who was reporting, who didn't report. It's just another one of those bad referee moments that the NFL seems to not be able to avoid, Jimmy.
Well, yes and no. They probably could have handled it better, but Dan Campbell once again tried to be too cute for his own britches. Dean Blandino has came out and let everybody know, like, the defense gets to know who they have to cover. They're not going to take fake reporting, and this guy reported, and they tried to make it too cute. Should have kicked. I don't want to talk about it. You get all fired up.
I think that's
again.
fair. You came up with you came up with this thing that was designed to cause confusion. You can't be angry when it causes confusion. So I do see that aspect of it.
That's what I was trying to say. You said that much better.
To me, it's just
articulate.
It's just another referee thing. I don't know. The referees may have handled this correctly. Like I'm not Zapruder and I'm not gonna study this film like it's the Zapruder film. So but it's just everybody's talking about it. That doesn't mean it's what is, but I think it's a prelude to what we're gonna see moving forward. There's going to be a bad call on the refs that's going to decide a playoff game, and it's going to be a huge story.
No, and I do just because I have to do it because my brand this year has been shitting on the Lions. I'm not going to stop now. You don't get to bitch about the horrible call that the refs made on you when you only got the ball back because they called tripping on the wrong team. Get you the ball back.
That is fair. Do you think they win this game? Do you think they cover the 3?
I think they win this game. I think the performance the Vikings put in last week showed they're done and they have no interest in playing this football game. So I think the Lions get to finish the season and go to the playoffs on a win.
1, 2, 3 Cancun, baby.
There it is.
The Kansas City Chiefs were preseason Super Bowl favorites. They have fallen back after a fairly disappointing season, which will still see them win 10 games. Here they are on the road in Los Angeles taking on the Chargers. The Chargers are actually 3.5-point favorites over Kansas City's backups. Minus 190 on their money line, plus 158 for the Chiefs. Over-under sits at 35. I don't know what to make of this game with backups in it, and I just think everybody should avoid it. So don't put your money on this game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Chiefs backups for our pod, but stay away from this game.
Yeah, Andy Reid does seem to get a lot out of his backup players. That is something to keep in mind. Our next game sees the San Francisco 49ers, who are home. They are hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers are 4-point favorites, minus 205 for their money line, plus 170 for the Rams. Over-under sits at 41. This is just everybody's sitting everybody, I believe, in this game, right, Jimmy?
I would imagine. So.
San Francisco's got the 1 seed locked up, so a little bit of the rest thing may come up with them, but I think the Rams are just happy to be in the playoffs, and they feel like if we could take a week off and get some guys healthy and rested, they probably feel like they can take on anybody in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, I mean, both of these defenses are just so tough.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to put your offensive players through that.
That's a good point.
So this is another one, total stay away for me. I'm going to take the Rams just because, but yeah, like these are the games. Just stay away from them. Decide who you think are going to win the games where the players are playing and make those bets.
Yeah, that's totally what I would say. And we saved the worst for last on this podcast.
Oh my God.
And we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals in the desert. The Cardinals are the Seahawks are 3-point road favorites, minus 155 on their money line, plus 130 for the Cardinals. Over-under sits at 47.5. I can't even imagine a scenario in which I would put money on this game or watch a moment of this game. It doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. If y'all want to bet it, have fun.
Give me the Cardinals here. Give me the Cardinals. I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah, they're pretty much going to be stuck with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And may as well get a win and, try and talk yourself into things being better next year. I don't know what Seattle's going to do. They just signed Geno to that contract, so I mean they can move off of it if they have to, but that they're not going to start Drew Lock next year. That's not a solution.
No.
Well, that's it, man. That's week 18.
Yes.
Not much to talk about on the Browns side. They're probably going to be they're probably going to be resting a lot of guys, which makes sense. I think. I lean towards that, although I do think you're definitely onto something with them being hot and not wanting to cool the hot hand. But they've been winning a lot with defense and deep passing, and I think those things you can just go out and do those things.
I hope so. We'll see.
Well, I mean, we could see the defense show up and Joe Flacco just throw like 5 interceptions, and then we wouldn't even know if it mattered.
Well, it is the playoffs. Next time they'll play will be the playoffs. So.
Yep, and we'll get to talk about those matchups next week. But until then, Jimmy, thanks for joining me tonight, man. It's some of these games are a lot of fun to talk about, and some of these we'll forget before they're even over.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for listening. I hope you have done well with your futures bets. If you did not do well with your future bets, then you can catch us next year right before the season starts. We do breakdowns of all the divisions. We pick all 32 teams over-unders. The last 3 years, I've been over 60% on these. Jimmy, I'm not sure where you've been, but I know you have definitely been above 50% and probably around 55, 60 at least. It's
yes, sir.
One of the things we do really well is we tend to know where 2/3 of the league's going to be.
Yep, and you touched on it last week when we were talking. Just understanding that when Vegas sets the line, they're kind of giving us a little bit gifts of not realizing how bad some teams are going to be and how good some teams are going to be. So, and that's really kind of where we've hammered it the last 2 years.
Yep. No over-under was over 10.5, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams already over 10 wins. 7 of them are 11 and over. So all 7 of those teams cashed their over-under bets weeks ago.
Yep.
So yeah, if you listen to us, you got some money coming your way this weekend. If you didn't, remember to catch us out next year and catch us next week when we tell you who's going to win these playoff games. And we break everything down from there. So for Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore. Thank you for listening to No Broken Legs.